We live in a time where everybody wants to be a public figure. We live in a time, and please don't get mad at me for saying this, where even people who have a private account spend their whole lives posting stuff and commenting on stuff to create an image and a projection of a reality that may bear no resemblance. The awkward golf claps really help me. I appreciate that. Anytime you have unbelief in your heart, it will cause you to try to perform to prove something that you don't really believe. In psychological terms, it's called the Fraudulence Complex, or some call it the Imposter Syndrome. And it speaks about how many of us have an inability to internalize our strengths and our accomplishments. Psychologists call it the imposter syndrome because they say that many of us secretly, deep down, feel like we're a fraud. Many of us secretly, deep down, feel like we have so much less to offer than what people expect. And that even when people compliment us, we figure that the reason that they're complimenting us is because they don't really see us for who we are. And if they ever saw us for who we are, if they ever saw how stupid we feel, if they ever saw how inexperienced we feel, if they really saw how nervous we really feel, they would kick us out the room. It happens to fathers, it happens to mothers, it happens to leaders, it happens to teenagers. It is the fear of being found out to be less than they thought you were. It is the fear that keeps you in a performance mode. It is the fear that keeps you spending money to look like something important because deep down you're afraid that you're really not. It is the fear that keeps you overcompensating, and you get in situations, and rather than letting other people be the center of attention, you feel the need to overcompensate to show how intelligent you are, because deep down you don't feel intelligent enough. So people think you're cocky, but you're really not cocky. You're scared with the conflict between who they think you're supposed to be and who you feel like you really are. It's called the imposter syndrome. It means that sometimes, even as I'm trying to fulfill my purpose, I feel like a fake. It's not that I'm a hypocrite. It's not that I'm insincere. It's just that deep down inside, I'm a man who sometimes feels like a little boy. I'm a preacher who sometimes feels like a sinner. I want to be wise, but sometimes I feel like a fool. And I'm wondering, is there anybody here who lately has been up under the pressure of an expectation? And when you feel that, the temptation and the tendency is to prove it. I gotta prove I'm a good dad. I gotta prove I'm a good mom. I gotta prove I'm a good preacher. I gotta prove it. And when you do it to prove it, it takes the joy out of it. And it's such a weird world we live in, isn't it? I mean, I'm so scared for my kids. Honestly, I don't even know what to tell them about growing up in a time where we've always had the pressure, but now the performance. Now everybody gets to experience performance anxiety because we all perform our lives for one another all the time, just constantly. I mean, if you cook a good meal for your family, it does not count unless you make an Instagram story out of the meal. This is a very common thing to preach about. It's common because it's killing us. I was doing squats the other day, and Chunks was watching me do these squats, and I was doing them deep squats. I only do leg day once every 6 weeks, so I gotta make it count when I do it. And I don't know if I can do it in these jeans. I should have tested this. I hadn't done this illustration yet. But I mean, I was down deep on the squat. Now, Buck wasn't there that day. Chunks was there. And Chunks was spotting me. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm doing my squats like Buck. But he said something so important. He said, "Don't do them like Buck. Buck is built different than you." break your back trying to be like Buck. And I wonder how we look to God trying to. You are gonna snap your hamstring. You are gonna pop your quads trying to be Buck. Trying to. I went on Instagram the other day and I saw Kevin Hart, and I felt like a failure in my whole life. I felt like, what am I doing with my whole life? What is the point of my existence? Within 15 seconds, here I am with a burden on me that I wasn't built for by comparing myself to someone with a different calling. And please don't judge me while I am in this vulnerable position. Because the truth of the matter is, some of you are hurting in ways that you don't have to hurt, because you are putting yourself in a position that you were not built to live in.